Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have episode number 120. How often is your partner taking the high road? Mm-hmm. We all know intuitively what the high road is. We don't always take it. Mm-mm. And neither do our partners. No, but seriously, we want to thank, as always, Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this podcast and so many others, bringing personal development, mental health, self-improvement, personal growth into the world. We want that to spread. The world will be a better place if we all work on ourselves.
For sure.
And sweetheart, as always, ladies first, what is your intention for today's episode?
For episode 121, my intention is to help our listeners understand those tiny moments when you would really love your partner to take that higher road, what's happening inside your body, and using some of our experiences that has happened very recent in our relationship, bring that to fruition for all of our listeners to really check in with what's going on in their relationship when their partner is and is not taking the higher road, and how do you navigate the aftermath of that. And this episode really came out of an experience that Alan and I had a couple days ago. By the time this episode comes out, it will have been last week. So if you guys have been longtime listeners, you know that Alan and I have gone to the gym pretty much, or exercise for, I want to say 800 plus days straight now. Mm-hmm.
It's 2.25 years.
2.25 years. And
which is wild.
I say strong that work. Only because, go us, right?
Yeah, strong work.
So I say that because the gym that we go to, it is a place that we very much frequent. And the other night I went to the gym by myself. Alan was doing something, and I'm starting to get into my leg day, and all of a sudden one of the well-known men who goes to our gym, he's kind of an older guy, but very sweet. We call him Red Hat Man. Shout out to you if you ever listen to this, Red Hat Man.
Very respectful.
Very respectful dude. He comes over and he's like,
he works too.
He does. He puts it, he actually has gained some good mass over a couple of years. So we obviously really appreciate people who go to work in the gym, because Alan and I, when we go in there, it's like, we talk about it all the time. It's the one place where we let the dogs out. We actually go to war, and it's going to war with ourselves, because when it comes to the work that we do in the world, we're very much in the support role, the guide role, the let's help everyone else really make their life amazing. And then when we get in the gym, it's like letting out all the steam of the day. If you've ever been to the gym, do the exercise routine, you know what that's like. So I'm going to work, starting out my leg day, and this guy, Red Hat Man, comes in and he's like, hey, excuse me, if you don't mind me asking, what happened the other night? And I just sit there and I'm smiling because I kind of anticipated this. And he essentially was asking me to spill the tea of what went down the night before.
Spill the tea is new. What does spill the tea
Spill
mean?
The tea is a figure of speech of tell me about the drama that just happened, that went down. What happened? You know, when something went down in a small town, everyone wants you to spill the tea. What were the deeds? Give me the deeds.
I half expected you to rhyme. When something goes down in a small town, you get the crown. Something like
nice. Yeah. Okay, so anyways, he was asking me to spill the tea because the night before there was a little bit of drama that happened, a little drama that ended up happening when Alan and I came into the gym, and there was a 19-year-old who had gone to the bathroom and left his water bottle at the machine. And so there was a little bit of headbutting confrontation that had happened. And this older man had, asked for the details. So I was kind of sharing with him what had happened just from strictly logistical standpoint. And I said, it was kind of one of those things, a little ego bonking. And he's like, yeah, it's not the first time. But essentially what he said to me was something that I thought was so powerful. And it was something that was extraordinarily nice for me to hear from someone else's perspective, which was, I really respect your partner he went over, he shook his hand. And even after that, bumping and whatever did happen, I've never really seen that happen where two guys really have a conflict. And after the conflict, there's someone who takes the higher road. He took the higher road, and I respect him a lot. And I want you to let him know that I was on his side just in case anything happened. I was rooting for him. And I thought it was really, really sweet because this older man was coming to me saying how much he respects my partner. And never in a million years did I think, that I'd be with a partner where I feel so much reverence for who he is on his own accords because of the actions that he took in a really contentious time. And so I came home and I told Alan about that. And since then, it's been really wonderful. But what actually went down the night before? Let's talk about that a little bit. And babe, I want you to kind of come into the story in this aspect. But essentially the night before, which this older man, red hat man, was asking about, was Alan and I come into the gym and we are ready to go. It's a pull day. And pull day is like my favorite day too. So I come in hot, and Alan, he had a really long day. We had just gotten back from a road trip. And so we're like, we can't wait to work out in our new gym. Literally right before the gym, Alan's like, I'm setting a new standard for myself. He signed up for this 10-day or this 10-pound weight loss challenge and with Kev. And he's like so excited to get back into our gym and our fitness. And same with me, right? We've been on the road. We've had to do a couple walks where we wanted to go to the gym. And if you guys have been listening, like fitness is one of our core values. So we like love that. So we come in, for lack of better words, hot and heavy. Alan pops his pre-workout in. We're going to war. We have our like war playlist on, and the lat pull down machine. There was a little yellow water bottle kind of near it, but like kind of not. And it was right next to another machine. And Alan, being the respectful man that he is, he saw that there was no one really around the machine. And there was a guy 2 machines over where Alan checked in and said, kind of, are you using this? And the guy had essentially, for lack of better words, said like, I'm not using it. I'm not on it. Go ahead. It's yours. So we go down, we sit on the lat pull down machines. And Alan had at that point in time swapped out the little, what's the thing called that you swapped out? It was like the grip.
Yeah, the grip. There's a long one, there's a mid one, and there's a small one. You were using the small one on the lateral pulls, and I did lateral pull downs.
Okay.
So we also, the important part of this too is we do a circuit.
Yeah.
And so Emilia and I take no breaks, and we swap.
Yeah.
So she's on a machine, I'm on a machine, and we swap
right next to each
and
other.
they're right next to each other.
Yeah.
So this is like a perfect opportunity for us to get after it.
Yeah.
It's 2 of our favorite workouts.
And no one's around us.
No one's around.
It was awesome. Great. So that's the ideal version. So
I swap out the thing.
Yep.
And then he comes out of the bathroom. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's this kid that comes out of the bathroom, and he starts, inching into our workout bubble. And for anyone that does frequent the gym and has that happen, it's really poor etiquette, really poor gym etiquette to get in someone's workout bubble, because not only is that freaking annoying and disrespectful, but it's also, you could get hurt, you could get injured, and you're just disrupting someone else's flow, which is just not the thing you do at a gym, right? So he starts inching on Alan's bubble and essentially started to confront you and said something along the lines of, and I want to pass this over to you because I had my headphones in and I really wasn't present at this moment because I was getting after it on my end. But he had said you had taken my machine and started to get really confrontational from what I understand. So babe, tell us what happened after that.
So essentially he came over and he said, that's my machine. And I said, did you buy it? No, I didn't. I'm kidding. This is going to be hard for me to be mature in this because I want to make jokes.
Yeah.
No, the truth is he came in hot and heavy. He said, that's my machine. I was about to give it to him, and I was taking off the longer grip to replace it with the one that he had on it before. And then I had this moment of clarity of, I had enough time to change the grip out and almost finish a set. And you were nowhere to be found. I'm sorry that your water bottle's here, but you lost your machine.
Yeah.
And then he's like, dude, if I was you, I would give it, like, that's disrespectful. You're so weird. He kept calling me weird.
It was a really good, like, non-confrontational thing. That is one thing that we pick up.
But he was intense. Very intense.
His energy was too close.
My energy was intense too, because like Emilia had mentioned, I've done pre-workout. I'm ready to get after it. And this is my favorite gripper.
Yeah.
I love that I love lat pull
We
downs.
do.
It's my favorite, especially the special
big
grips
one.
they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was just, dude, it's my machine. I said, listen. And this is very intense at this point. He's shaking.
Guys, they're like 6 inches away at this point.
Yeah.
Like they're like both ready to brawl. It was at this point I was starting to observe what was happening, as was everyone in the gym.
Yeah,
and it was like, whoa, what's gonna go down?
Yeah. So, and he's like, what? I said, listen, one of us is gonna give up and it's not gonna be me. So just move on. Move on,
bud.
And at this point, I'm not super proud of this, but it was literally, you're going to move on no matter what. Like, this is the end. Go get your stuff and leave. And he would not back down, which in some ways I do respect. And he's like, what? Because you're bigger than me? Mm-hmm. I said, in my head, I said, yup. But I said, no, but because you lost your machine, you were in the bathroom. And then this is this whole argument.
Gym law.
anyways, the whole thing, it was not, I'm just trying to work out. I said, we're here to weight train. And then I said this to him, which I now realize I'm injecting so much logic into a weird conversation. I'm like, number one, you're projecting onto me. You're saying what you would do if you were me. I'm not you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like rationalize.
You were so stoic.
Thank you,
like
sweetheart.
bringing that in.
And then the other piece of this, I said too, what was it? I said, oh, we're about to get a really good workout tonight, aren't we? Because when two people interact in a confrontation, fight or flight responses happen, and obviously fight responses are happening for him and I.
Oh, yeah.
And our test levels boost.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been studies shown that test levels boost when you're around bigger, stronger men and when you're around attractive women. Mm-hmm. So that's a natural biological thing. So I'm like, we're going to get a great workout tonight, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like move on, and this is going to actually benefit us. This is going to be constructive.
Yeah,
so anyways,
this.
Eventually he gave up, he moved on, whatever. And then he came back and asked my name. And I said, you're going to tattle on me now? And he's like, tattle, bro? What are you, 12? And I'm like, all right. So it was this whole thing. And so anyways, I finished my workout. He moves on. I think he's going to tell on me. It's this whole thing. And my shameful moment was this. This was my shameful moment. I'm going to share this out to everybody. I ended up saying, dude, do you want to get outside? Outside of the lights and the cameras? Is that what you want to do? And that's when he completely ran away.
Yeah.
I was ashamed of that moment because I'm not going to fight this kid.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm 35 years old. I got to act my age.
Yeah.
He's 19 and he's tiny.
Yeah.
The point is that was the moment where I was like, all right, I've just made myself wrong. Up until this moment, I had ground to stand on.
Yeah.
And I've now lost it because what? You want to take this outside? What am I, 11?
Right.
So I realized in that moment, okay, my bad. And the whole rest of the workout, I got a great workout in because my test levels and my adrenaline was rocking.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the workout, it was 35 minutes later, and I was like, you know what? That was not my best self.
Mm.
And you have that inner voice that says, you need to take the high road. And that was not the high road. And you need to be, that's not who you aspire to be. And so I did, and I knew it. I knew. And as soon as I was done, I took off my wrist wraps. I finished my workout. I packed up my stuff. And usually you and I will go in the bathroom and wash up before we leave, wash our hands. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go over there. So I went over there in a very respectful energy.
Yeah.
I'm done with my workout now, so I'm actually in a centered energy.
Yeah.
And I said, I put my hand out, and here's the piece that's really important, particularly for any guys out there listening. I had to do this knowing he might slap my hand away.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing that I need to take the high road if that happens. Because a lot of times when you do put your hand out and say, listen, I'm sorry, I came in hot and heavy, that was a misunderstanding and that was not my best self.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. So I went over to him and I was in a centered energy, not an attacky energy, because I didn't want to scare him because he was on his phone. He immediately knew.
Yeah.
And so I just put my hand out. I said, listen, man, I'm sorry. That wasn't my best self. I was in pre-workout. I was in the zone. I was hot and heavy and I was ready to get after it. And it was too intense and that wasn't my best self. So I'm really sorry, man. And he immediately matched that. So he shook my hand. And the really important part, so let me show you this. So you shake hand and then you do this.
Oh.
So
they clasp two hands together,
so
not
you
just
do the first handshake
handshake,
and then you grab with the other one. And that's an extra show of bond.
Yeah.
And so I said, my piece, I said, I'm sorry. And he said, me too. I'm not going to tell on you. Same deal. He just owned everything too.
Yeah.
So we took our ownership, we took accountability, and we moved on.
Yeah.
And the part that I was ashamed of was we need to take this outside. And that was just stupid.
Yeah.
But I now feel like I not only stood up for myself and had the courage to stand up for myself, but I also had the chance and the opportunity to make it right. And the point of this episode, rather than talking about me and Emilia, is we all have that opportunity every day to try to make it right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you go docile and never stand up for yourself and get bullied and tolerate it. Because quite frankly, there was a level of bullying that was happening to me.
Yeah, true.
And he came in very puffy and very adamant, even though we had a differing opinion.
Yeah. And truth be told, he was against gym etiquette. Like, he was actually in the wrong when it came to that. But
I
again,
made myself wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the truth.
Yeah,
and
there's
that's
truth on
okay.
both sides.
So, exactly. I might have had ground to stand on until I took it too far. And once I took it too far, I knew I had to go make it right. But I didn't want it to be out of fear. I wanted it to be out of aspiration to be a better man.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Jason Blackstock, and this is my wife, Lisa. We got connected with Alan and Emilia a few months ago through friends. We were trying to look for ways to strengthen our relationship.
And right away, we just noticed with Alan and Emilia how they made us feel so calm, and like everything that they did with us was gentle, and it felt so like we could let our guard down right away. And that was something that allowed us to open up and just get closer so quickly. So
yeah, I felt it was very easy to connect with them, and their intuition for our situation was very surprising to me. Both past and present, they just knew us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they picked up on things that we didn't even think they would. They just, even in our mannerisms and the way we would look at each other at certain points in the conversation, it was just really cool to feel like they understood us. And it really gave us all the tools that we needed to work on us when we weren't talking directly to them. So we had like homework to do and things to work on, and it really elevated our relationship in big ways. And I think we're both really excited to keep working with Alan and Emilia, because you're never done working on your relationship. And I just feel like that is, if we're good, then the rest of our world is good with our children and our 4 kids. So
yeah, we're very grateful that we met Alan and Emilia and are looking forward to the future.
And so that's what I did. And truth be told, I feel like I've done a lot of that in my life. And that's been tough because a lot of people don't have the ability to put their ego down and to regulate. And they don't have the aspiration to be the most virtuous person they can be.
Mm-mm.
I do. I will actually hold myself accountable to that. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the way I behaved, because I can't change him.
Mm-mm.
I can't change whether or not we have a different opinion of whose water bottle in proximity to some machine is or isn't. So the fact that older man, he was kind of in the energy because he knew that if something were to go down, he'd be able to help break it up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I knew his respectful energy, and I knew that he knew that I was trying to take the high road. And I'm grateful that he noticed that.
Me
but
too.
at the end of the day, that's not why I did it. And that's the important piece is, and that's bringing it to this episode. There have been partners in the past that I've dated, and I have 3 other relationships that have been, one with 4.5 years, one 5 years, and then one 3 years, 3 additional years.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything in between. I've also obviously dated women in between.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one else who, to the level I feel this with now with Emilia, I have reverence for who she is, even if I wasn't her partner. And this is the whole, I am proud to be your partner, because if you are a reflection of me on any level, which you are, I am proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times in the past where I remember feeling like, am I settling for a person who doesn't have standards?
Mm.
Am I settling for a person who isn't that good of a person? And some of my past partners are wonderful people, so that's not what I'm saying. One in particular, I don't actually think was ever aligned for me. And I'm mad at me, not them, because they get to be whoever they want, even if that's not what I agree with. But they weren't taking high roads, and they aren't aspiring to the high road. I don't even care if you're perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You have to at least want to be the bigger person. I think that this whole world gets better when all of us aspire to take the most virtuous, highest road possible.
I agree.
Because if it's an eye for an eye, we all go blind.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have had ground to stand on, but that doesn't make what I did right. And there's always a higher road. And so I
Yes.
now have a bond. His name's Christian, and he knows my name. Definitely, because he wrote it down. When he asked when he was going to tattle on me, he wrote it down. But his name's Christian. When I went over and said sorry, I asked his name.
Yeah.
And now we know. And I guarantee you next time I see him, I'll give him a nod.
You guys will
And
have
we turned
appreciation.
we turned conflict into a higher bond,
Mhm.
into a more positive, constructive, transformative energy. And I do believe on some level that we've inspired each other now. So that hopefully, if you don't feel that way about your partner, the question of this episode is, how often does your partner take the high road? Not only in your relationship, but in their life in general.
Right. And I wonder how we had talked about, like, I wonder how that would have been navigated if you and I weren't together, because we've also mentioned when there's two people together and you and I's energy is very empowered, we're very hot and heavy when we get into the gym, like it does change the dynamics of things. But what I do know, and this is what to echo the sentiment that you had said, like I do know what it's like to have been with a partner. In that moment, there was a central nervous system kick in of my stress responses, which were kind of fight, be there and fight, and kind of fawn. So both of them were happening at that same moment because a lot of my past partners would have actually just started to swing. And that is the unfortunate part, because I have had a huge experience with people who have without any logic taken the lower road. And just because their ego was not tamed, was not modified, and people didn't see the longer term perspective on what this one little moment was. And I know what that felt like. And after, there was one night in particular in college where I had been with a partner and he had misinterpreted the situation, and he was drunk. And because he misinterpreted that situation, he actually started to punch and brawl and hit someone who had MS in the face, who actually was trying to catch me because I had tripped. And it ended up becoming a terrible situation. And I was so the opposite of proud. I was so resentful and so upset at the series of unfortunate events that unfolded because of how poor that partner had actually interpreted that event, how much they had little reverence for what the impact of their one action would have on other people, and therefore on reflection of me. And so that contrast of that moment where it very well could have turned out into be a fight, even though that's not anything of who you are, right? I had that moment where it was just, for me, kind of my own safety at risk by extension of your choices. And I know a lot of women can relate to that, because a lot of the times when you're a female in that position and there's male ego bonking going on, you don't necessarily know whether it's safer for you to stand right by your partner and kind of go at it, or kind of let them de-escalate. And so seeing you navigate that situation on your own accord and navigate your own parts, from being charged up and really trying to take a logical approach to, like, the fact that he had left his machine, and it is gym etiquette. If you're going to go to the bathroom and have that amount of time, you can expect that, it's up, so, and you navigated that whole workout and went through the contemplation and reflection that so few people do when it comes to seeing, okay, well, there's this road, there's that road, and then there's the higher road. And you, through a workout, which is really intense energy anyways, navigated yourself in a way that actually saw the higher road and chose the higher road. And so few people do that. And I know the feeling. I explained it to Alan afterwards. We were at home and I had shared with him in one of my nightly gratitudes. I was like, I don't feel that dirty feeling after I felt with past partners where they didn't take the higher road. And they also weren't open to my feedback around how I would have really appreciated they have taken this road. Like, did they see that road? Like, all those things. And I felt clean. I felt pure. I felt within alignment of my virtue, my values, my aspirations, because of who Alan is on his own accord. And that's something, again, do you have reverence? Do you have respect for your partner, of who they are and what they choose to do, how they choose to operate within this world on their own accord? And if not, why not? I wish I could go back to that version of myself when that night had happened in college, and really like had this topic or this conversation with that younger version of me, because I would have gone a little bit deeper and explored, like, why do I not feel this reverence, and been honest with myself, because I know there's a lot of people that
don't
settle.
feel it. It's because it's not earned.
I know.
It's not merited.
It's not.
And the truth of the matter underneath all this, I know we got to jump, is value in life has to be fought for and earned.
Yeah.
And I'm a better man at 35 than I was at 20. The version of me at 20 might not have been able to handle that. The irony of that, though, is that at 20, he probably wouldn't have tried to stand up for himself like he did. Because at the end of the day, I do realize, too, and this is what helped me take the high road, is this is a 19-year-old kid who's stepping up to someone twice his size, who he feels taken advantage of and bullied, who he thinks that I have it all, and how dare I.
Yeah.
And he's trying to make sure he stands up for himself because he feels like a coward in his own life. And who knows what's going on in his life, too.
Right.
The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is, even if he called my bluff and said, let's step outside, I would have de-escalated. I was never going to swing first. And that's one thing that I can say is I'll never swing first. If he had swung, though, without question, I would have done whatever I had to do.
Yeah.
And I would have put it to rest. Seriously. But I would never swing first. And I gave Emilia that reassurance. But the truth is, and this is for all the people watching or listening, particularly the ladies, I can say that all day, but she needs to see it.
Yeah, facts.
And people can say that they take the high road, you know intuitively whether or not they do.
Yeah.
And taking the high road is hard because we get stuck in shame.
Mm-hmm.
If I was ashamed of that moment when I said, do we need to step outside? And part of me was being playful, like, are you seriously going to take it that far? Because honestly, that's the only way I'm giving this thing up.
Right.
And so some of it was playful, but it didn't seem playful to him probably.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point is I was stuck in shame from that moment. And that shame I had to work through on my own accord in order to take the high road. And what most people do when they're ashamed of how they've behaved, they actually ego up. And if I was still stuck in shame, would I have taken your feedback? Would we have been able to have a discussion? And then you would have future paced that and said, what about next time? What about next time? What about next time?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't feel safe with your partner. And that's a whole nother episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't feel psychologically or physically safe in your relationship, you're in so much trouble. That's the beginning of the end. That's why I say trust is everything. So this is going to cascade to many other potential episodes, but I think we got to rock and roll.
Yeah, I remember being with partners who would like look for fights, like look for conflicts that were so unproductive. And it was just, as a female, it's like, that's so unnecessary. It's so
why
unnecessary.
I fight the weights.
Right, exactly.
The weights don't get hurt.
The weights don't get hurt. So with that being said, in conclusion to this episode, is your partner taking the higher road? Maybe you can kind of reflect a little bit more on this episode and ask yourself, if they're not, are they open to feedback? Because if you're seeing the higher road and they're not, is there an open line of communication where you can share what you perceive the higher road to have been, and how will they handle that? Is it going to be a total shutdown or making you wrong for your perspective? And I think that that's really, really critical to go in and ask your intuition, like, is this partner right for me because of this aspect, because they constantly aren't choosing the higher road, or because they're not open to my feedback about the higher road, or they don't care about what I have to say about this. So I think it's definitely a really important topic, and I'm really glad that you had done that on your own accord. But then we can also share that story with our listeners, because we do go out in life and we do have these moments, and it's these little moments that squeeze out what's truly inside. And
oh, nice. Well said.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're not going to get apple juice out of an orange. You squeeze an orange, you get orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
And when life squeezes you, you're going to get out what's inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully what's inside isn't a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
Although some junk will come out. Okay, for everyone out there listening or watching, ask yourself the question, do I respect and admire my partner, even if they weren't my partner? Who they are as a person, what they do in the world. And if the answer is no, figure out what that means for you. We can't tell you, but we can help you in relationship talks coaching. Book a session, free 30-minute session. We have a bunch of different couples that we're coaching, some individuals, some as couples, 4-way calls. It's awesome. We hope that you join us. Homosexual couples, heterosexual couples, all of the different couples. If you're in love, we believe in love. This is the Love Train Conscious Couples podcast. Please book your first free 30-minute session at the registration link below, the Calendly link below.
There will also be another link in the description of this podcast episode, and it will be for our 36th event. Relationship Talks event is a train that keeps a rolling. So come on the choo-choo train of the Love Train and join us in the Conscious Couples and Conscious Singles community as we discuss the topic, which is the 3 phases of conflict you must learn.
If you're not in the Conscious Couples WhatsApp group, by the way, I think we have like 60 people in there, 50 to 60 people in there. These are all couples and singles who want to attract their dream partner or create and cultivate their dream relationship. Talk about a community. Your reference group determines a lot of your success in life. If you want that, reach out to Emilia or myself. Alan at theweuniversity.com, spelled just like it sounds, ALAN, and Emilia, EMILIA, at theweuniversity.com. Send us an email, say, hey, I want in on the WhatsApp community, and we can add you in there.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
As always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is Lazaros88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.